Mitrione in February, and then they have the Fedor versus Frank Mir in April. So they're going to take a break in March.
The only thing I don't like about this is it locks everybody up for a long ass time. Like, I would like it if that was all on like 2 shows.
Yeah. Or
maybe even one crazy card. You know, have all the fights on one card.
Yeah, I think Mir has to wait till April. So
why is that, for his contract?
I think it's the testing that he had in the UFC, and then
don't test him, Bellator. Don't do it.
And so I think he's suspended until April, and then he can fight. And so, but that fight, I think probably a lot of fans 10 years ago, but now too, are going to be really excited to see Mir versus Fedor. You know, two kind of legendary champions.
Oh, yeah, man.
And then I don't know why the Bader one and King Mo one's all the way back in May, but I think
King Mo's had some pretty significant injuries that he's had to deal with.
Okay. And Bader just fought recently, so maybe he needed some time too.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's the injuries with Mo. But man, I'm excited. So I'm just training and ready to jump in. I'm actually getting to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Maybe. Well, actually, I'm deciding on it this next week. To see if I can submit the alternate position or not.
To me, the big one is Rory McDonald, Douglas Lima. That's the big one.
Yeah.
That's the big
January.
one. That's the big one.
That's going to be big.
That's the one I'm like, okay. Because I feel like when it comes to the welterweight division, Bellator has 2 guys in Lima and in... the Lima thing, the only thing that stands out in the Lima thing is Ben Askren. It was Ben Askren, and it was a long time ago. No doubt about it. But Ben Askren just had his way with Lima and had his way with Koreshkov, had his way with all these guys. That to me, and Ben's coming on the podcast next month. We got him scheduled.
Awesome.
Before or after, I forget which one, the event out here, the Bellator event. But I feel like that is, I mean, now that he's retired, that is my biggest regret that he didn't get in MMA, that he didn't get into the UFC.
Yeah.
My biggest regret.
Yeah, I wish they could have worked that out, whatever it was.
Fuck. I wanted to see what would happen.
Yeah.
You want to see what happens with him and Tyron Woodley. You want to see what happens with him and world-class wrestlers who are also knockout artists. You want to see what happens with him and the elite of the elite at 170 in the octagon. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure he'll tell us, and I'm sure he'll be very, very outspoken.
Yeah. I wonder if it's the whole style thing. I mean, like the hardcore fans. Yeah, hardcore fans love it. But then it's almost like, I won't use his name, but I know a fighter that fought in the upper weight classes in the UFC, 9 or 10 wins and only 2 losses and gets cut. And so it's almost like, you gotta be
Who's that?
Jared Rochelle.
Yeah.
I mean, great guy, awesome training partner, great fighter.
He had some fun fights. Why did he get cut?
It was after he had an early loss in the UFC, and then he went on a tear, and then he had another loss, and they cut him.
1 loss.
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
So I think he had like 8, 9, or 10 wins and only 2 losses there. And then so it was after 1 loss, and he was gone. So I believe it was because of the style.
The style.
But he's a great guy.
Yeah, man. That style's legitimate, though. The problem is you can't decide that you need things to be exciting. You need things, your sport is things being effective. The whole idea is, like, here you go. You got a guy like Francis Ngannou who can knock anybody's head into another dimension, right? Well, what happens if Francis Ngannou gets smothered by some Rulon Gardner type character?
Yeah, Rochelle.
Yeah, some giant dude who grabs a hold of him, drags him to the ground, and fucking hammer fists him for 3-5 rounds. You know, like, don't you want to see that? I want to see that. Yeah. I want to know that this kind of guy can be immobilized,
right?
That he can be neutralized, and we've seen Ben Askren do that.
Yeah.
To really, like, Koreshkov and Lima, 2 fucking straight up assassins, right? We've seen him do that. So I wanted to see him try to fight like some of the elite because I think that style is critical. The wrestling style is the hardest style to deal with if you can't compete with the wrestler. That's why I've always said if you had like a pyramid of all the techniques in martial arts, like what would be the most important? I think wrestling. Because the ability to dictate where the fight takes place. And by wrestling, I include takedown defense, which is obviously a wrestling skill. But wrestling, the ability to dictate where the fight takes place is fucking critical. And if you could take the guy down, having the ability to take a guy down is giant. You're on top of him, you're smothering him, he's got to carry your weight, it's exhausting, you're beating him up while he's down there. It's a giant factor. Obviously every fight starts standing up, but when a good striker is fighting a good wrestler, they're fucking always worried to let anything go.
Right.
As soon as they tee off on something, woo, the double's on them, and then they're on their ass. So I think that a guy who has been proven to be one of the most difficult wrestlers to deal with, to not have him fight in the octagon is a tragedy. It's a fucking real bummer, man.
Yeah, it is.
And I wonder how many wrestlers out there are looking at Ngannou and going, I wonder what would happen if you take that guy down.
Yeah, no, I mean, even me being in the same weight class, I mean, that's my wife was asking, who would you be more terrified to fight before the fight, you know, with Alistair.
How much do you weigh right
262.
Now? We can get you down 205. Get you going keto.
Yeah, but when Overeem and him were facing off, she's like, which one would you prefer to fight? And I was like, I think Ngannou. I think Francis.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Well, this was before he sent Alistair into orbit, but I because you take him down. Right. Take him down, and then it's your game, hopefully. And
he's
so
apparently
with Alistair, he's so
strong.
seasoned and everything else, and he does have some takedown defense, and he does have some submissions. So I've just seen him be more well-rounded, and but that was before,
right? Obviously, before.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I would have talked to you before that, and I would have said no, no, because my thought before the fight when I talked to Shab and I were talking on the phone. He said, "What do you think's gonna happen?" I think Alistair doesn't make it out of the first round. I think we went over all the times Alistair's been stopped.
That's a big factor.
It was a big factor.
Yeah. Isn't it more than 10 times?
Yes, more than 10 times in MMA. I think it was, what was it, like 12 times in MMA, 13 times in MMA, and then 3 or 4 times in kickboxing as well.
What's that analogy? Is there any truth to it? It's almost like a peanut butter jar or something. The first time you open it, you got to get out a towel and put over it and try really hard to open that lid. And then after that, it's a little easier. And then it's a little easier until eventually you do it enough and you can just spin it off, just flick it, you know?
Yeah. Well, he's in the flick it stage.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. That punch would have knocked him out when he was 20.
Oh, yeah. That would have knocked anyone out.
Yeah. I mean, that punch was insane.
Mark Contour, Roy Nelson, either of those guys.
And the way he threw it, it was like a leg, like from the thigh, and then whipping that arm with the whole body behind it, just full torque. I mean, it had everything. It had all the power.
I was a little skeptical of the, well, it was probably from listening to Brendan, but talk about the punching power. You know, well, who else? Has Mark Hunt hit it, and has Crow Cop kicked it, and everything else? And then all of a sudden, once you see that punch, you're like, he's sealed the deal.
Dude, I've shook homeboy's hand, and it's like holding hands with a fucking cinder block. Let's see that again. Boom. See how he like comes up from the thigh and the arm whips up? Look at this. Wham!
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness! And as he's punching, he's moving in position to punch a second time. Then he hammer fists him while he's out. Boom!
Thank goodness he got in there.
Yeah, he certainly. I mean, the referee got in as quick as he could, but he certainly could have not hit him while he was down. He was out cold. What are you gonna say?
Who got knocked out with a bunch of the elbows? Didn't there like 7, 8 extra elbows at the end before the ref stepped in?
In this past weekend?
Yeah. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'm going to say Gary Goodridge.
They weren't like extra elbows, but like it was like, man, you probably should have stopped that early.
Pull up the card. Try to figure out who it was.
Paul Felder?
Yes, Felder beat the shit out of him. Yeah, that was an interesting fight because what played out is exactly what I thought. It was like Oliveira is really dangerous with his grappling. His grappling is phenomenal. He has submitted, I think he's tied with Royce Gracie for submitting the most guys in the UFC, which is, how badass is Royce Gracie? All these years later,
he has
still got the record.
That's awesome.
You know, pretty goddamn significant.
Yeah.
But he smashed him with that one shot, and then he tapped.
He's got such great elbows, man.
Yeah, he tapped.
That's right. That's what happened. No one saw the tap.
Yeah. And Felder just smashed him. Well, Felder's an enormous 55. Felder walks around somewhere in the 185-pound range, and then giants down to 55. Yeah, he tapped, but the referee didn't see it.
2, 3.
And you know he can't let him up.
5. Oof.
Yeah.
6. Yikes. Should have tapped a little harder than that.
Yeah, you got to I mean, that's like a humble tap. Like, you got it. You got to tap. Like, okay, we're done here. Yeah, you can't tap.
Paul didn't even realize he tapped. You know?
Can't be reluctant. You can't have a reluctant tap. It's got to be like, but guys don't want to tap. You know, like, I'm kind of tapping. You know, you've seen fights where
Joanna, right?
Guys said they tapped, but they didn't. Yeah, the Joanna thing, she still says she didn't tap.
Yeah.
but she definitely did. Mm-hmm. She probably doesn't realize she tapped because she was in dreamland. You know, I mean, she got hit so hard. And